Live from the News Center in high definition, this is 7 on Your Side at 11.
Get us some damn gas masks for Theater 9. We can't get in it.
With this evil, this death, it had no bound. It had no shame.
I got 7 down in Theater 9. 7 down.
A movie premiere ends in a massacre. A gunman stands up and starts shooting, unleashing mayhem inside a crowded Colorado theater.
I've got a child victim. I need rescue at the back door of Theater 9 now.
There was a moment where my daughter tripped and I just pulled her up and I was just dragging her and I was just thinking we just gotta get out. I just gotta get out the door.
70 wounded but alive, 12 killed on what should have been a night of fun.
Death did not care at all about age, sex, or anything. It was all a massacre.
It's really hurt. Right now, we are learning new information about the massacre. We have team coverage from Colorado to the Carolinas.
That's right. Rachel Kent is digging into their security and the theater security and the new changes for you. And Shelby Coates is telling you about an eerily similar scene in the pages of a Batman comic book. But first, an update from Colorado tonight. Teresa Garcia begins tonight's team coverage of the movie theater massacre.
The governor of Colorado is updating the community that of those 59 wounded, 30 remain in the hospital, 11 are still critical. The hope is the death toll does not rise. Now, the community here has really pulled together grieving. Here at the theater on the corner, you can see where there is a memorial growing. They have a row of candles and a sign out there that says "Gone but not forgotten." And meanwhile, investigators are saying that James Holmes at his booby-trapped apartment had a more elaborate plan for violence. It was chaos inside a packed movie theater after a heavily armed gunman threw smoke grenades and opened fire during a midnight showing of the new Batman movie.
So just talked to police officer, says we may have a number of people dead inside the theater.
Aurora police refused to comment on reports that the suspect, 24-year-old James Holmes, had his hair painted red and called himself the Joker. Police said he was dressed head to toe in body armor and wore a gas mask during the attack. Jennifer Seeger says the suspect pointed a gun directly at her face.
So I just jumped forward into the aisle and curled into a ball and waited for him to go up the stairs.
Police say Holmes fired an assault rifle, a shotgun, and at least one handgun during the attack. Some of those shots went through the walls into another theater. A man in a blood-soaked shirt and a child in a Batman costume were among hundreds who made it out alive. Corbin Dates was sitting in the second row.
I felt the caps from the bullets burn my leg.
The University of Colorado confirms Holmes was dropping out of a graduate program in neuroscience. Police found explosives in his car and his nearby apartment.
His apartment is booby-trapped with various incendiary and chemical devices and apparent tripwires.
The survivors include a 3-month-old baby.
She got shot when she got shot. It's just God watching over us. She saw it right there.
The suspect's family is cooperating with police and says their hearts go out to the victims. The pain over this senseless tragedy is not just being expressed here in Aurora, Colorado, but also words of sympathy pouring in from around the world. The Queen of England has sent her heartfelt sympathy and a message to the president and to the people of the U.S. Also, the director of The Dark Knight Rises says he is so sorrowful this has happened here. The suspect, James Holmes, is headed to court on Monday. In Aurora, Colorado, Teresa Garcia reporting live, and back to you.
4 military men were in the theater when the shooting started. The U.S. Department of Defense tells us that one of them, a Navy sailor, is now missing.
Another sailor and 2 airmen were shot but survived. Right now, crews are keeping a close watch on the accused shooter's apartment. Police say James Holmes booby-trapped his home so extensively it could be days before investigators get inside. Police evacuated 5 nearby buildings as a precaution. Firefighters say if there's a detonation, they will fight the fire from outside the building. It's just too dangerous to go in.
Well, we are still learning about the man accused of today's massacre. So who is James Holmes? Here's what we know right now tonight. He's a 24-year-old grad student at the University of Colorado. CBS News reports that neighbors say he was smart but quiet. Police say he dropped out of the med program last month. The only contact that police had with him before today was a year ago when Holmes got a speeding ticket. New York's Police Commissioner Ray Kelly says when Holmes was arrested today, he told the police that he was the Batman villain, the Joker. Flags across the country are now at half staff in honor of the shooting victims today. President Barack Obama ordered the flags at public buildings, embassies, and military bases lowered until July 25th. Mr. Obama said that this is a, quote, mark of respect of the senseless violence.
Today's movie theater massacre forced President Obama and Republican challenger Mitt Romney off the campaign trail. The president was set to address crowds in Florida. Romney tonight is in New Hampshire. Both men used their scheduled events today to express condolences for the victims.
Michelle and I will be fortunate enough to hug our girls a little tighter tonight, and I'm sure you will do the same with your children. But for those parents who may not be so lucky, we have to embrace them and let them know we will be there for them as a nation.
Ann and I join the President and First Lady and all Americans in offering our deepest condolences for those whose lives were shattered in a few moments.
Both campaigns have asked Colorado TV stations to pull their negative ads out of respect for the shooting victims. Movie theaters across the Carolinas and the country are on alert. Many have security officers patrolling for trouble. Take this theater in New York's Times Square. There's usually an officer on duty. Now there are officers inside and outside the theater. Here at home, theaters are already considering a policy change. 7 on Your Side's Rachel Kent is digging for answers as part of tonight's continuing team coverage. Rachel.
Well, Tom, if you come to the theater this weekend, you will see deputies, but I don't want to alarm anyone. It is standard for them to have at least 2 Greenville County deputies here on staff to make sure things don't get out of control. Crowded parking lots, long lines, and people anxious to see the movie.
We're actually on our date night tonight.
On the surface, it was business as usual at local movie theaters. Valley Pinto is excited to see The Dark Knight, but the shooting at a Colorado movie theater is weighing heavily on his mind.
It makes me more aware. I know that's possible. It could happen in Greenville also, so it just keeps me alert.
Local theaters have made changes in policy since the shooting. The Great Escape in Simpsonville posted on Facebook that you would not be allowed to wear masks or costumes. According to Regal Cinemas, it will also be implementing stricter policies on costumes.
Yeah, I don't think that should be allowed in the movie theater. That doesn't seem pretty safe to me. I mean, if somebody can come in wearing costumes, you don't know what they have under the costume.
Both Regal Cinemas and Carmike Cinemas say they reserve the right to search your bags before you're allowed in the theater. Derek Riggs believes it's important to remember this was an isolated act of violence and you shouldn't live in fear.
Don't take this wrong, but this America, something gonna happen every day. You gotta live. I'm not scared. I mean, stuff gonna happen every day.
Now, I did get to speak to deputies here. They said they have spoken to people. They do feel safe coming to the theater, and people have thanked the deputies for being out here tonight. And I'm told out of the 10 showings that are here tonight, most of them are sold out. We're live in Greenville County tonight. Rachel Kent, 7 on Your Side.
Rachel, thank you. Today's movie theater massacre has parents hitting the pause button as officials learn a lot more about the accused gunman and children question exactly what happened here. The situation in Aurora can be really difficult to explain to curious kids, but according to psychologist Dr. Caleb Loring, if you have teenagers asking what has happened, answer their questions and remind them what the accused gunman did is not normal behavior.
Parents should emphasize the separation of fantasy from reality, and often that becomes more difficult to do when you're exposed to lots of media, which our culture is increasingly indulging in.
If you have young children, Dr. Loring recommends not giving them too many details.
Well, as we told you earlier, New York's police commissioner, who's been in contact with Aurora police, says Holmes called himself the Joker. Of course, that's one of the villains in the Batman story series. But today's shooting has another eerie connection to the comic book. There's a strip that shows a crazed gunman shooting up a movie theater. All new at 11, our Shelby Coates digs into the connection as part of our continuing team coverage. Shelby.
While the circumstances are similar, there's really no way to blame the violent comic strip for the mass shooting at the movie theater. The experts explain why, and they give us some insight into one of America's darkest heroes.
The scene in that comic was depicted as just a random scene of violence that it was taking place in Gotham City.
For those who know Batman, Colorado's theater shooting is eerily familiar. In 1986, the comic The Dark Knight Returns shows a crazed gunman entering a movie theater and killing 3 people watching the film. But those who know Batman best say the violent scene served a purpose.
So he comes out of retirement specifically in response to all those kind of things. So that scene was put there to really show the darkness that Gotham had become.
So does the scene have any relation to Colorado's tragedy? Comic fan Jeff Blanton says no. He says just about every type of violent act, whether a bank robbery or school shooting, can be found in the pages of a comic book.
I mean, I can't think of too many Marvel or DC comic books that there's not a similar situation like that, whether it's a movie theater or a bank or a school.
Comic experts can't deny Batman comics can be violent and dark, especially in recent times.
Times weren't the squeaky clean 50s anymore, so the tone of the comics got a little darker. Batman got a little grittier.
Of most superheroes, he is one of the darker.
But fans say Batman always has an anti-gun motto.
But he was anti-gun, anti-weapon. You know, he wanted to punish the bad guys, but he wanted to do that as a means to protect the regular people.
Also, no matter how dark the storyline, comics always make sure the ending stays the same.
Every comic book, good will always triumph over evil.
The theater shooting comic was created by Frank Miller. It came out in 1986, and it takes up one single page in the entire series.
All right, Shelby, thanks for looking into that. The Batman comic series started in the 1930s. It was considered too violent for its day. Batman again turned dark and grim during the 80s under Frank Miller's writings.
All new at 11, we found out one of the women killed today in Colorado narrowly escaped death just a month ago. I've been following developments with Jessica Gowie's story all day long. Recently, she'd moved to Denver from Texas, pursuing her career as a sports journalist. She escaped a Toronto mall shooting last month, instinctively leaving the food court just minutes before a gunman opened fire. Gowie went to the midnight screening of The Dark Knight Rises, sending her last tweet under the name Jessica Redfield 20 minutes before that movie began. Her brother remembered her with one special word.
The word I keep using is passion, because that is the one word that describes her best.
You can read more about her in her tweets on WSPA.com. Gowie says that he will remain in Denver until he can take his sister's body back home to the family in Texas.
The movie theater massacre in Colorado is the worst mass shooting in our country since the attack on Fort Hood in Texas. That happened November 5th, 2009. An Army psychiatrist was charged with shooting 42 people before he was subdued. 13 soldiers and civilians died. The Virginia Tech shootings, April 16, 2007. In 2 separate attacks, an undergraduate student shot 49 people, killing 32. He then took his own life. A McDonald's restaurant in San Ysidro, California was the scene of a mass shooting on July 18, 1984. An unemployed welder and security guard carried an Uzi, shotgun, and handgun. He killed 21 people, wounded 19 others. He was killed by a police sniper. And in Killeen, Texas, October 16, 1991, an unemployed merchant seaman drove his truck through the front window of a cafeteria and began shooting. He killed 23 people, wounded 20, before taking his own life. Police have removed all of the bodies from the movie theater in Colorado. Officers will now begin the painful task of notifying families. Right now, the shooting suspect, James Holmes, is in jail. Cops add it could take them days to find evidence in his home because all of the booby traps. According to police, Holmes has dyed his hair to look like the Batman character, the Joker, and a Batman comic book portraying a movie theater killing could have played a role in this massacre. We'll have the latest details as they develop on air and on WSPA.com.
All new tonight, a scary storm wreaks havoc on a mall that many of you shop in. Next at 11, shoppers inside this mall run for cover as the roof comes crashing down. Plus, planning a garage sale, or if you know someone who is, you may not be making all the cash that you can. In a 7 on Your Side Consumer Watch, we're going to show you how to get rid of the stuff that you have and fill your pockets with money.
And we had some strong thunderstorms around the western Carolinas today. How many more are on the way for the weekend? I'll have the details in my forecast coming up.
Happening now in a 7 on Your Side news alert. We're following an overturned tanker truck that is leaking gas. This happened just before 10 o'clock on Murphy Road in Anderson County. Fire Chief Billy Gibson says the truck is leaking gas and that it is a pretty significant leak. Those are his words. Crews evacuated several homes along New Hope Road and Tony Creek Road. Those families are now staying at shelters set up at 2 local churches. We'll continue to follow this news alert for you on the air and online on WSPA.com.
A day of shopping cut short. The reason: the ceiling suddenly collapsed at the mall in the Carolinas.
This happened at the South Park Mall in Charlotte. Investigators say heavy rain caused the ceiling to give way. Parts of the mall were flooded with water, had to be evacuated. No one was hurt. All new at 11, a local man's in jail accused of threatening to kill workers at a company that recently fired him. Our coverage partners at the Independent Mail report Michael Williams of Anderson is charged with unlawfully communicating and making a false bomb threat. The Anderson County Sheriff's Office says Williams made 2 calls to 911 yesterday, saying he was on his way to Alfmeyer, Friedrichs, and Rath to shoot and kill the workers, and that a bomb was inside the business. There was no bomb.
A mistrial tonight in the case of a former youth pastor accused in a string of sex crimes. Today, a jury said that they could not reach a verdict on the charges against Stephen Barry. Barry worked at New Life Baptist in Union County until his arrest last year. He's charged with lewd act on a minor. Tonight, Barry's out of jail on electronic monitoring.
Some call it community service without the sermon. A new organization, Upstate Atheist, wants to adopt a highway. The group says they're not looking to send a message to non-atheists. They're offering an outlet for people who want to volunteer without joining a church. The Department of Transportation requires 3 or 4 trash pickup days a year for 2 years and a report on their progress. The group hopes to be cleaning litter from the roadside soon.
The weather has settled down quite a bit from where it was earlier this afternoon, but it's still active, and we're going to hold on to that chance of at least a few showers overnight, maybe even an isolated thunderstorm from time to time, and that's what we had develop in Pickens County, moved right over the downtown Greenville area, and that has since weakened into just a few showers that work their way across Spartanburg, and right now are not too far away from Cowpens. That rain, mainly light rain, a few pockets of moderate showers there. Heading to the east, and eventually on into Cherokee County. A little bit farther to the west across Oconee County, things are pretty quiet. Had a few showers there earlier today, and up into western North Carolina, we've got a few showers redeveloping tonight. A little bit of activity in Jackson County, also west of Franklin. And the moisture is abundant, especially to the north, where we've got a couple of active lines of thunderstorms. The first one's actually going to stay to our west. That's moving into North Georgia. Second area of thunderstorms here appears to be weakening just a bit over the last half hour to hour's time, but I think by midnight or shortly thereafter, that line will be along the North Carolina border, and that will affect some of our counties overnight. And it's not out of the question for some of those showers to survive the trip into the upstate. So a few rain showers will be around overnight. The possibility is there for a little rain tomorrow morning, too. Should be very spotty, though, so I don't think it's going to be a washout in the morning. But thunderstorm chances will increase again as we head through tomorrow afternoon. Look for a high of 88 after starting out at 71. In the mountains, 66 degrees in the morning. 76 by noon, and we'll look for a high of 83 with a chance of thunderstorms. Here's our satellite map. You can see that the weather is still pretty active over the eastern part of North Carolina, and again, tracking this activity to our north. That's focused along a front that's going to continue southward, and it's going to be in the western Carolinas during the day tomorrow. That'll act as a focusing mechanism for rain, so it may cause our rain chances to be a little higher, especially in the afternoon hours. And then that front washes out, stays hot and humid. I think in many locations, fewer thunderstorms around, but still, we'll hold on to that chance for rain. 82 in Birmingham, 76 in Nashville, 79 with some rain on the way to Atlanta, 76 in Savannah. We've got lower 70s from Greenville to Spartanburg, so temperatures may not fall too much in some areas from where they are right now. Still at 77 in Lawrence, Union at 74, and Asheville's temperature is at 72. Here's a Storm Team 7-day forecast. It's the weekend. Rain chances are going to stick with us, but it's the weekend. Temperatures are going to be a little bit below average tomorrow. Look for a high of 88, 91 on Sunday, and then going into next week, we're going to up the heat a little bit, and we'll hold on to those pop-up thunderstorm chances. Looks like mainly mid-90s for next week instead of lower 90s, and then overnight lows will mainly be in the low 70s, pretty close to what we're expecting for tonight. There's mountain forecast, low to mid-80s over the weekend with a chance of rain. Thunderstorm symbol has become pretty common these days. I've got it all the way through next Friday. So just a reminder, you may not get rained on every single day, but somebody's going to see a pop-up storm each afternoon.
We might as well get you a brooch with something like that. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, that could be my
That's a
symbol.
Christmas idea.
Exactly.
Your logo. There you go.
Exactly. Well, here's your chance to be the envy of all your friends by having a souped-up ride. We're talking a complete car makeover.
If you visit WSBA's Facebook page and then click that like, win button, then follow the contest directions, you'll be entered to win the complete car makeover.
It includes leather interior, tint for your car windows, a head unit with radio, navigation, iPod connection, a car link that lets you access your vehicle anywhere from your smartphone. We'll be announcing that winner July 25th, and you know that is not far away. Just go to WSPA's Facebook page and like, win.
Tonight, a new deal to bring back 17 of your blacked out channels. That's next.
Plus, how to put more money in your pocket by hosting a very successful yard sale. Just ahead in a 7 on Your Side Consumer Watch. Tonight in a 7 on Your Side Consumer Watch, you can now see your MTV and Comedy Central shows again. DirecTV and Viacom worked out a deal to restore all 17 channels blacked out since July 10th. The feud that took away your favorite shows revolved around fees paid for cable channels. Neither side will release specifics of today's deal. The agreement also gives you the ability to watch Viacom shows on tablets and other devices using the company's Everywhere platform. Well, don't let your next garage sale be a flop. Know how to bring in the crowds and the cash.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Well, Harold Farr has been hosting these yard sales for 20 years. He says a successful yard sale starts with good advertising. Put up signs and listings on social media sites like Facebook. Include descriptions about some of the key items you have. You can also search for garage sale sites on ways to price your items to move and get friends and relatives to park outside and walk around. It's a great way to attract even more customers.
This coach is feeling the heat and gives one of the reasons why. That's coming up.
Ready, aim, fire.
Round 2 of the British Open. It's all about Brandt Snedeker, a guy who's nibbled at majors before. Pretty approach there at the par 3. Ties the course record with a 64. He's at 10 under. 1 up on Adam Scott and just 4 up on this guy. Tiger finishing in impressive fashion the birdie from the bunker. He's 4 off the lead. Bill Haas and Kyle Stanley. Area golfers make the cut, but they're each 9 back. Good evening, everybody. A mid-July series doesn't get much bigger than Braves Nationals in D.C. with Atlanta beginning the night 3.5 behind the Nats in the NL East, and then behind big in the ball game. Mike Morse early with that bomb. Washington has a 9-0 lead behind Steven Strasburg through 5. In the 6th, Braves get 4, 2 of them on that Hinsky blast. They cut it to 9-8 after 8. In the 9th, 1 out, 2 on. Michael Bourne, unbelievable. A 2-run triple off the wall. Braves have a 10-9 lead as Paul Janish just gets in before the tag. However, bottom of the 9th, someone named Danny Espinosa goes the opposite way on Craig Kimbrell. It's tied at 10. However, top of the 11th, Janish with the infield in, nobody out. The bloop. Dan Ugla scores as we speak. They play in the bottom half of the 11th inning with 1 out, and the Braves holding that 11-10 lead. Elsewhere, Jim Thome tonight going for the record books, and with this blast, his 610th homer passes Sammy Sosa. He's now 7th all-time on the homer list. The Drive played a marathon last night, 15 innings against Lexington. Tonight, they see a sprinter, Delino DeShields, one of the fastest men in all of baseball, 68th stolen base of the year. He's later gunned down here. He's the son of the former Expos standout. In the 3rd, Jose Garcia, the RBI triple for Greenville, but in a rain-shortened game, Greenville falls to Lexington by a final of 7-4. Preseason Walter Camp watch list is out. Clemson's Taj Boyd and Sammy Watkins and USC's Marcus Lattimore and Jadeveon Clowney are on it. Few seats across the land are any hotter than that of Derek Dooley at Tennessee. He enters his 3rd season, 3 games under 500 with the Vols. You at least applaud him for his candor.
We need to improve on just about everything because we really weren't good at anything. We have absolutely no chance to compete for an SEC title if we run it the way we ran it last year.
They were last in the SEC, under 100 yards rushing per game. They were woeful. Pendleton's Carson Young continuing to have an amazing month. He wins the SC Junior Match Play today, his 3rd tourney victory in July. Spartanburg County golfer Morgan Weber makes it an upstate sweep by taking the girls' title. 2 area men's championships being decided this weekend. Spartanburg County, Kyle Milner rolls that one in on his way to a 65 at Woodfin Ridge. He has a 3-stroke lead over that guy, Blake Kennedy, after round 1 of the Coca-Cola Spartanburg County Amateur Championship. Several are in the hunt. Greenville County, they're playing at Bonnie Bray. It's a fine opening round for Marcus Grumbles, the par putt on his 2nd hole. He is 1 stroke off the lead of Josh O'Neill. Jeremy Revis had a good day. He shoots a 66, including this nice approach on his 10th hole, and he is just 2 strokes off the lead.
Well, somebody's getting to do something in all these rain and storms we've been having.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah, somewhere.
All right, Pete, thank you. And we wish you a pleasant and safe weekend. Our next news with the latest on the Colorado shootings is in the morning at 6 o'clock.
We thank you for watching this week. Remember, you can stay up to date with information all weekend long on WSPA.com. Letterman's coming up. Have a great night.